what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. We are here at one of my favorite filming spot locations because guess what? This is the type of review that I love to do and I love to bring to you because guess what? Not only do we have a killer car to show you, but it's also from a person that started off as a fan and a subscriber of the channel and now somebody that I can call a friend. What do we got going on? It's this car right here. This is my friend Nick. This is his Civic Type R, that FL5 Civic Type R with a ton of different modifications, updates, and changes that he has made to make it unique to himself. But before we get into one of the best sport compact performance cars in modern history, when it comes to automotive history, let's talk about what's going on here. So one of the great things about being a car enthusiast is not only loving the type of car that the manufacturer builds, and let's be honest, the Honda Civic Type R for so many years here in the United States, and when I say so many years, we're talking about 2 decades. For 2 decades, it was like that forbidden fruit, only available overseas. But then, of course, in 2017, when they brought the FK8 Type R to our shores, that really was a game changer. Now, a lot of people fell in love. I even had an FK8 Type R. Even Steven, our very own Steven Flood behind the camera, had an FK8 Type R, fell in love with it. But you know what? Obviously, changes do take place. And what you find with this new FL5 is a cleaner style, but definitely not shying away from the original intention of performance. What's also fascinating to me that I personally love about the FL5 is that this is built in Japan, whereas the FK8 was actually finished production in England. There's lots of sport compact performance cars out there, and it's funny because I know we like to focus on these super high performance cars like the Z06 C8 Corvette. You got that Maserati MC20 that I brought to the channel, but you know what? I really feel like this is a little bit of a golden era for those compact performance cars. You have the FL5 Type R, you have the Hyundai Elantra N, of course, the Toyota GR Corolla, plus there's a sprinkling of other ones. And we can't forget the original hot hatch, the Volkswagen GTI and Golf R. But what I want to find out is the FL5 Type R, is it the best one to go with if you're gonna do modifications to your car? And did Nick make the right decisions for his? Let's go ahead, let's dive into that championship white, the most iconic of all Type R colors, and find out. Right off the bat, the shape of the Type R just really makes my heart pitter patter, so much that, of course, we added one to the Rady's Rides garage. And it's one of those cars that until you drive it, you just don't get it. Now let's focus on some of the things that Nick specifically did to his. At the front of the business, you're gonna see some different color going on. He actually had the hood wrapped this gloss black. And the reason why he went gloss black is that, of course, we have that functional heat extractor up top, which is gloss black. And then he knew that he wanted to bring the color closer to the front. I've seen a lot of people who have either gone a carbon fiber hood or who have wrapped theirs and just did black and they left the rest stock championship white. For some reason, because of this area right here, this overhang on the front fascia, to me, it doesn't look right. I'm really digging this smart decision that Nick made on his FL5 Type R to bring the black all the way down because it does 2 things. First of all, it blends in nicely with that heat extractor. The other thing it does, it blends in nicely with the gloss black grille up top. Of course, when it comes to grille, the upper grille really doesn't need a lot of change because they opened it up compared to the FK8. FK8 had some overheating issues at the track. Some people were discovering that. So there were different grills that you can get to open up that airflow up top. With the stock gloss black grill, it's really open nice and large, so you're not going to have to worry about changing that piece, and it keeps that gloss black nice and clean. Now, of course, we're going to have the Type R badge very, very important because of all the history, and the bright red Honda badge. Now, the reason why you see the bright red Honda badge only on Type R vehicles is because it goes back to the 1960s when Honda entered Grand Prix racing. The early days of what would later be known as Formula One, that's the badge that they use. So if you see this on a Civic Si, if you see it on a regular Civic, somebody did a no-no. They actually took off the stock Honda badge and put one of those on. Let it be. Enjoy your car for what it is. Make changes, but I think you're gonna find that these changes that Nick made were spot on the money. Now, as we drop down, lurking behind, it's a little difficult to see, but I think Steven's gonna pick it up very nicely. He added a PRL massive intercooler. So the car obviously comes with an intercooler. It's a turbocharged intercooled engine. A stock intercooler, they did enlarge it for the FL5, but you know what? When it comes to turbocharged engines, a lot of times you want to go as big as you can on that intercooler, especially if you're going to make other changes like Nick did. So that PRL, very good brand when it comes to performance parts, especially on the FL5. And I like the way on his, it's not in your face. It's like you got to know what you're looking at. The way that you know that this is not the stock lower intercooler is that, first of all, it's painted black. I like that stealthy look. But you'll also notice how it's closer to the actual grille opening. And then you'll see those enlarged veins throughout the whole intercooler. So that checks off that first box, that when you want to make more power, because this isn't just aesthetic, it's not like he just wrapped the hood and he called it a day. He also wanted to make more power to have greater performance. You need to change that intercooler. If you don't, you're doing it wrong. Other than that, you can see that the FL5, like I said, just has that look that makes my heart pitter-patter. Now, as we go around the bend, you probably had some questions already, like, wow, the front of Nick's FL5, it's kind of low. It's lower than a stock Type R. Well, here's where we're gonna show you some of the other changes. Because like I said, it's one thing to just add a bunch of extra horsepower. It's another thing to make it nice and balanced. And this is what Nick has done. So first of all, we're sitting on the Swift springs. Swift springs, specifically their FL5 Type R spec, that's gonna drop it an inch. So we've already minimized that wheel gap by dropping it an inch. Another thing that he did, which is a very popular way to go, is changing the wheels and tires. Stock wheel's a 19-inch wheel. What did Nick do? He went with these Enkei TS7s, bronze color all day long. I'm freaking loving this color choice. I feel like it's nice to see other colors besides black. Everybody has black. Nice to see that bronze color. And then if you're wondering, well, Joe, what's the stats? What's the specs on this wheel? It's an 18 by 9.5, so 18-inch wheel. So he went down by an inch in diameter, 9.5 inch on the width, and it's got a plus 45 offset. So what that's gonna do for you, it's gonna bring the wheel and tire closer to the exterior of the fender so it doesn't look so pushed in. Less expensive way of doing that would be to get spacers. I don't really recommend that. You're adding an extra part to everything that's spinning around, that unsprung weight. And when you go with a solid wheel, that's the way to do it. And Enkei is a really great brand. But let me know what you think about the wheels. Love the multi-spoke design. Now, when it comes to tires, he went a little different direction than stock as well. So we have these Continentals. The important part is we got 265 on the width. So we got more meat, more rubber to meet the road. And then the sidewall is a 35 series sidewall. That's gonna, like I said, really help not only with the look, but also with tire choice and also in the handling department. Now, one thing that is still totally stock is gonna be the Brembo brakes. But the good news is, stay tuned. We're eventually gonna do a part 2 because Nick does have some brake goodies. I'm not even gonna tell you what they are, but they're coming. And we'll do a part 2 to show you how he updated those. But you do get the Brembos, you do get 2-piece rotors. Of course, it's still front-wheel drive. Nick didn't add all-wheel drive. This car really doesn't need it at the end of the day. because of the limited slip diff and because of the way that they developed the suspension. And then of course, going with a company like Swift for the springs, it's the peanut butter and jelly. It's all matched up perfectly. But let me know what you're thinking about the look and that wheel. Now, as we come down the rest of the side, we have our spoon mirror setup. And these are named, you're gonna hear certain names: Swift, Spoon, Mugen. These are names that when people say them in the car industry, in the car world, they bring a certain weight to it because they're respectable names that make good products. So we got Spoon, we got the Mugen guards in here. Obviously, you got somebody wearing their brass knuckles. You don't want them to scratch up that inside of the door handle there. So we're gonna put the Mugen guards there. And then up top, we have these really nicely done Mugen rain guards. And it's just a simple touch having that name. But if you haven't heard that name, like I said, very synonymous with Hondas specifically. And not only bringing performance, but also bringing functional style. That's a functional piece. It adds to the style, but it's functional. Now coming down the side, like I said, at all four corners, having these Enkeis look spectacular. And then as we swing it around back, you're gonna notice a couple unique touches. First of all, wing is stock location, stock size. We'll see if that's something that Nick is gonna change down the road, but it's what's underneath the wing that looks spectacular. So a little bit of artwork going on. And this is, like I said, the personalization, this is where you get to bring it. So this graphic here is done by a guy that goes by the name Spinnywoosh. And this is his one-of-one Tokyo Ghoul pattern design. And not only does Nick have it on the exterior, but he also has a little bit of it on the interior as well. Now, what's great about it is that if you're looking down here, you see it, but it's not in your face. And I think that's what I really like what Nick has done with this, is that all this stuff isn't in your face. It's not like he added a 10-foot wide body kit and a wing that goes up to the heavens. It's like he made these subtle changes, but the whole big picture really stands out. Everything out back, of course, is gonna be your Honda stock setup, and that's fine with me because it looks great. We got a little bit of custom Japanese plate going on there, just to, like I said, add to that particular flavor. Now, stock, you would know that the Type R, the FL5 Type R, has the 3 exhaust outlets. What Nick decided to do is that he wanted to change, and he went with a brand called MRT. This is called their Sportback exhaust, and basically what it is, for a lack of better words, is it's like a catback exhaust, excuse me, axle back exhaust, but it's basically a muffler delete. So let me explain. Muffler delete, it's gonna help increase that sound, but it's gonna increase the sound certain ways. He actually kept the resonators. That's gonna cut down on drone, and this is gonna give you a little bit deeper sound. And obviously we're gonna let you hear this very, very soon, but I'm liking, normally I'm not a huge fan, I'll be honest with you, and Nick is standing right over there, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not usually the biggest fan of the dual outlet exhaust on a Type R, but I'm actually liking this one. The reason why is I love the flat black finish, that slash cut, and I like the size of the openings to the exhaust outlets. That I think really kind of just makes it all come together. And then of course we have out back our tow hook, just to add that little extra kind of race personality, racetrack personality. But like I said, this isn't just about all show and no go. We have plenty of go. Where do we gotta go? Let's go underneath the hood and check out and see what Nick has done. All right guys, we got the hood popped on Nick's FL5 Type R. Underneath that hood, of course, let's just talk about the stock setup on it, which obviously it's not stock. That is gonna be that 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine. Stock setup, which we are not, is 315 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, and of course it's made it to that 6-speed manual transmission. Now, what has Nick done to increase not only the style, but the performance? First of all, we have a variable stage 2 tune. So this is a very popular tune that Type R, whether you're FK8 or FL5 owners, use to help boost horsepower and torque Nick is thinking around 400 horsepower to the wheels. Think about that. That is a lot of power going to the front end of this car, and I can't wait to go on throttle. Let's talk about the other pieces. Like I already mentioned, the PRL intercooler, the titanium inlet pipe, the high volume intake, and across the top to help stiffen up the front end, that strut tower bar, all by PRL. I like the way he used a lot of PRL goodies because they know how to get it done. He also added a Mishimoto solid coolant tank, and you can't miss that red Cerakoted valve cover. I like the way he actually had Spinny Whoosh have the graphics on the engine cover. I actually prefer it without the engine cover because it just has that classic turbocharged setup that you would expect to see under a Honda, that bright red. And then, like I mentioned at the back of the car, the MRT Sportback exhaust. With the 6-speed manual, he did add a hybrid racing short throw shifter and Acuity shifter bushings. And we'll talk about some of the other goodies when we get to the interior. But I don't know about you, I'm jonesing to get behind the wheel, because we do have the keys in the next car. He gave us the keys. I can't wait to get behind the wheel and go on throttle. Before we go anywhere though, let me show you that last kind of, it's like the cherry on top of the sundae. Of course, we got to have that anodized red cap there for the windshield wiper fluid. I mean, that right there easily adds 5 horsepower on any given day. But why don't we go ahead? Looking at this is great, especially with the PRL airbox and everything. I mean, it's just, this thing is, it's done right. You can tell that it's done right. It's so clean. Let's go ahead, let's fire it up and hear what Nick's Type R sounds like. All right, guys, we're inside Nick's 2024 FL5 Type R. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I want a Type R really bad. I want to put my own personalization into it. I really like what Nick has done. How much does a Type R cost? So if you're looking for a Type R and you're able to find one at MSRP, they run around $45,000. Now, of course, when it comes to the mods, that's going to change whether you go with certain brands, whether you're doing the work yourself. Nick has done a balance. He did some of the work himself, and then some of the things that he knew that, hey, this is a little too much of the deep end of the pool for me to attempt, like the springs. He had somebody, let's just say an expert, a professional, handle that. And he's guesstimating that he's probably spent around $5,000 in the changes that he's made, give or take. But let's see what's going on in the rest of his car, the interior, to the door panels. I like the way he kept the door panels stock. That's all you need. Soft touch material, you got the red ambient lighting, that Alcantara with the bright red stitching, and you have enough room in there easily in that door pocket for 2 Arby's beef and cheddars. Going from the door panel to the dash, I always thought it was so smart for them to put the Type R number badge right on the dash in front of the passenger. You slide on in, you'll notice his special accessory mounts that he has. And then working our way down, all of this is going to be stock. You got to have your special hybrid racing awesome sauce air freshener. Very nice to have that. But this is where the magic happens. Remember when you were a kid and your parents said knock on their bedroom door before you open it up? This is where they were making the magic in their bedroom. This is where you're going to make the magic. You got that short throw hybrid racing, short throw shifter. I love the hybrid racing Alcantara shift boot he added with the red stitching. Your special shift knob so that you're not going to get that Indiana Jones burnt feeling and that burnt art of the gear pattern in your hand from the aluminum shift knob from the factory. But just the way that this gearbox, I mean, it really is a game changer. I thought the stock gearbox was great, which it is, but this just takes it to another level, and I can't wait to go on throttle on this thing. Well, notice the spinny whoosh graphics, like I said, from the wing, also brought to the interior. This is one of one. And then you got your two giant cup holders. Open this up, what do we got? Oh, we know what Nick's all about. Obviously, being a fan of Rady's Rides, we have the track day Twinkie. So what this is for is when you're on your drive rally or you're at the track and you're passing those GT3s and, Nissan Zs and Toyota Supras, what you do is you just go ahead and throw a Twinkie at them as a consolation gift as you pass them. And then save one for yourself, of course. Seats, stock, this is all you need. The bolstering is perfect. The positioning is perfect. Manual adjustments, totally acceptable in this kind of car. And don't even ask me about a sunroof. I'm glad to see that Nick didn't get a hacksaw and cut a hole for a sunroof in this Type R. But why don't you come over here to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel in Nick's car. All right, guys, behind the wheel of Nick's Type R. It's one of those cars that until you get behind the wheel of one, you're never going to understand it. You're going to say, oh, it's front wheel drive. Oh, it doesn't have 800 horsepower. Drive one. Start with a stock one. That's what I recommend, and see just how good it is from the factory. And then maybe if you pay Nick a bunch of money, he'll let you drive his and you can see what the next level is. But the great thing about the Type R is that overall interior dimensions are great. I'm 6 feet tall, feel fantastic. Steering wheel, perfect thickness with the red stitching. And then the touch that I like that Nick added is the red trim around the gauge cluster. It really makes it look like a nice anodized bright red. I think the one thing that I would zonk, and like I said, I'm gonna be honest, is that if you're gonna go red trim around the gauge cluster, then I would like to see some red trim somewhere else, preferably on the door panels. So I'm gonna recant what I said. I think the door panels look great stock, but with that being said, if you're gonna add some extra red trim, add some on the door panels just to give it that extra cohesive style. Now I know you're saying, well, Joe, let's go look at the back seat. Nope. You're probably gonna say, Joe, I wanna see the cargo area because I wanna see how much stuff I could haul in my daily commute. Nope. What we're gonna do, you better be ready, because I'm ready, is we're gonna go on throttle in Nick's Type R and see how it goes. All right, guys, we are inside Nick's Civic Type R, 2024 Civic Type R. And what's great about the Stage 2 tune is that you actually can adjust the level of traction control by actually utilizing the switchgear on the steering wheel. That's built in to the Stage 2 tune, and I think that is ingenious to have that kind of flexibility. Now, I want to build up to speed with this because obviously with this not being my car, I like to give it that extra special touch, but also I want to be able to really tell you exactly what I'm feeling at all speeds. But if you're ready, I'm ready. We're gonna do a roll, second gear, on throttle, here we go. Nice, love that gearbox. Here we go. Pulls all the way to red line. Really, really nice setup. Love the way the gearbox just allows you to communicate with this car so well. And like I said, it's the full package. It's not just, let's add extra horsepower. The car just feels more like a scalpel. Not like it was terrible before, like some type of blunt instrument. It's now laser edge focus. It's like the perfect Ginsu knife that allows you to cut through anything. The way that the Stage 2 tune builds that boost, builds the torque, it's very linear. And I like the way that it comes lower in the rev range and then pulls all the way up top. It's not one of those types of tunes where you run out of steam as you get close to that red line. She just keeps pulling. Having the strut tower brace, you could feel how it helps stiffen up the front end just enough. Add that with the springs, it really allows a nice crisp turn in, and it holds a line. And what I'm noticing too is that it's not bouncy. Now, yes, of course, if you drive the car on a real bumpy road, it's gonna get a little bouncy. I mean, that just comes with the territory of being on lowering springs and whatnot. There's no way around that. But with that being said, it's a nice compromise that really allows you to take advantage of what the car offers, especially now with that higher performance level. All right, guys, we gotta go through the twisty bits again. I know that sounds terrible. We gotta do more. This thing is nice. I'm gonna have to make some of these changes to mine. You ready? Second gear, 4,000 on throttle. Here we go. Woo-hoo! Now we're talking. That limited slip diff doing its job so well. Look at this. The front end grip, the communication through the wheel allows you to take full advantage of everything she wants to throw at it. It really makes you look better. It makes you look better. If you know what you're doing, it's gonna make you look like a champ. Because communication is everything. Just like in a relationship, you gotta have communication, you gotta have compromise. In this Type R, specifically Nick's Type R, the communication is wonderful. And what's great is that she wants to dance. And if you got your dancing shoes on, it's gonna be a perfect relationship between you and the car. And that's what these cars are about. And that's what people forget. It's like, oh, it doesn't have 700 horsepower. How much fun could it be? This, arguably, is more fun than a 700 horsepower car because it's usable. It's balanced. I mean, look at that. Ooh, a little bit of pop coming out of that exhaust. On throttle, here we go. Nice. Pulls. Woo! I mean, the way it just flows like water. It's like it's like you're a surfer and you're riding a perfect wave when you're in this car in the right set of twisty bits. It just feels great. And like I said, it's the balance. All right, guys, last hurrah. One more time for you. Definitely one more time for me. Here we go. On throttle, second gear. Look at this. Oh my God. On the brakes. Woo, yeah, she wants to dance. Here we go. Look at this, from corner to corner. So smooth, like silk. Great balance. Obviously, Nick has done a spectacular job with the decisions that he has made. Unfortunately, we got to wrap it up. All right, guys. Another day, another amazing on-throttle experience. But like I said at the start of this review, what made it extra special is that this car belongs to a friend of mine and a subscriber and a fan and just a really overall good guy who's a car enthusiast, Nick. Follow him on his Instagram page because, like I said, seeing the progression of this car up to this point is really awesome. Plus to follow him on the journey. But let me know what you think. Are you gonna go Type R out of the assortment of sport compact performance vehicles? That's question number one. Question number two, did Nick do it right? The way that he made the changes and the personalization to his. Let me know down in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rise family. Got to give it up to Stephen Flood. He's a big fan of any Type R. Doesn't matter what gen it is. So this was an important one for him as well. Thank you, Stephen, for your hard work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.